So, ESPN's Mina Kimes said the Bengals are the biggest NFL letdown this season. And in her rant about us, listen, I'm not going to say I disagree. This season was one of the biggest letdowns. I don't know if we're the biggest letdown of the whole NFL, because there's a lot of big letdowns. The Bears are a huge letdown. They were supposed to be a really good team. I don't know if I'd say we're the biggest letdown, but what she said is this. I really believe the Bengals were in a different city. Like, I don't know, if they were the Jets or something, they would be a bigger outcry over this season from Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase being wasted on offense. To be honest, great example. I think technically the Jets are a bigger letdown than us. Right? The Jets have 3 or 4 wins on the season. They were supposed to be a playoff team, a Super Bowl team, whatever. We're right now, if 3 things go correctly, 4 things. If we beat the Broncos, the Chiefs beat the Broncos, the Colts and the Dolphins lose 1 or 2 games, we're in the playoffs, and you never know. Once Joe gets in there, it's very possible we go win the Super Bowl, which in theory would make this season not a letdown. I mean, I'm just saying, there's a good chance we go 9-8. And, well, yes, that's a letdown. I don't know if that's the biggest letdown of the NFL. Okay? Again, the Jets were supposed to be a Super Bowl team. I digress. It's just, I believe it's so close to historically unprecedented, right? What they are doing, respect to the team's win record, but throw out the stats. When you watch, it is jarring to me the way in which this defense has let them down. I agree with that 100%. And its defense, it clearly has not been built well. I think it's more than just the players. I think coaching, again, I said it a million times in videos, as Bill Belichick always says, players win games, coaches lose them. I think there is definitely a level of blame toward coaches at this point. On defense, on offense, on everything. They have thrown resources. This is a very expensive defensive line, and they have drafted. Expensive defensive line. Other than Trey Hendrickson, who are we paying on the D line? Because BJ Hill's contract is up. CM Hubbard's not getting paid that much. Especially not to, levels. Miles Murphy's a rookie. He's on the rookie contract. Cedric Johnson's on the rookie contract. Sheldon Rankins is getting paid good money, but he's not getting paid record-setting money. This defensive line really is not getting paid that much. And then we have 2 rookies, Chris Jenkins and McKinley Jackson, on the defensive line. Unless I'm completely forgetting someone. I guess you could say Cam Sample, but Cam Sample's on a contract year. Joseph Asai's on a contract year, too. And they didn't get paid crazy big money when they were up. So this defensive line, well, yes, Trey Hendrickson vultures a lot of that money. Outside of Trey, we really didn't pay that much money on the defensive line. We didn't go out there and get anybody. But it also goes to the show, going out there and signing free agents, Sheldon Rankins, for example, doesn't always go to a great recipe for success, okay? You can't just do that. You have to actually draft well. They have very expensive defensive line, and they have drafted, and they have continuously tried to address it. See, the funny thing is, I disagree with that point. I feel like, personally speaking, we have spent more money on offense than anything, and I feel like we have really neglected our defense for letting Jesse Bates walk, for example. That was a humongous loss. Outside of Jesse Bates, there really wasn't any crazy guy who left us that we got destroyed with. I would say Von Bell, but Von Bell is back, and Von Bell is kind of iffy. But losing Jesse Bates was one of the biggest. Cheeto, you could make the argument. I still will go against that argument just because Cheeto after his back surgery was not the same Cheeto. So I can't sit here in good faith and say, oh yeah, losing Cheeto was the worst thing ever, because again, after his back surgery, Cheeto was just simply not the same player. I know he's okay with Tennessee right now, but for us, I'm not really, upset about losing Cheeto. But Jesse Bates was huge. And again, yes, they did pay money and got Geno Stone, but again, that's a situation where you go out there, you spend 26 odd million on the guy. It's not going to always work from free agency. It's not. You got to draft some guys that actually hit and work out. And for the defensive line, we really haven't drafted too many players lately on the defensive line. Outside of Myles Murphy, which, yes, obviously right now we're waiting to see if what we can get out of him. But outside of that, recently, no. Like last 2 years, no. We spent a lot of draft picks actually on offense. Chase Brown, Yoshi, Chuck Sizzle, Matt Lee, obviously. I think about DJ Turner, Jordan Battle. We're talking about defensive line here, not secondary. But yeah, a lot of it's been offense. And even then, yeah, some of them have worked, some of them have not. And it's been an obvious failure, not just this year, but going forward. I don't look at this defense to see cornerstones, and I really feel like the front office deserves so much more heat for that than they have been getting, because it's been such an unbelievable letdown this year. Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I think the front office gets a lot of heat, and I think they deserve it, and I think they get a lot of heat for a good reason. To the point of no cornerstones on the defense. Yeah, like when I look at our defense, right, and I'm like, okay, well, cornerstones mean building blocks, right? In theory, building blocks. What can you build off with the defensive players you have right now? Yeah, there isn't many. There isn't many that I look at and say, okay, well, our next 10 years in the future, right? Next 5-10 year plan. Who are we going to have and we're going to build with? Well, a lot of our guys are older. BJ Hill, obviously, is 30, 31 years old. Then you got Trey Hendrickson, who's also older. Sam Hubbard's also older. Mike Hilton is getting up there in age, too. He's almost 30, or he is going to be 30 years old. Logan Wilson's a little bit older, not to a point where it's bad, but we're talking about, next 10 years. Jermaine Pratt, older. Yeah, there isn't really too many. I mean, Cam Taylor-Britt would be definitely. I mean, obviously, he's only in his, third, fourth year. But he would definitely be a building block, but he's been kind of iffy, too. But I feel like you get a good defense coordinator in there. I love Lou, but I'm saying if you get, a really high-class one, I feel like he'll bring out the best in Cam Taylor-Britt. Yeah, here's what I'll say, right? Jordan Battle, Cam Taylor-Britt, DJ Turner, Chris Jenkins, McKinley Jackson, Moma Jagmita, obviously Trey's. I'm not going to include Trey because of the age. We're talking about next 10 years plan of building blocks to build around. That's pretty much it. We're talking about next 10 years. Next 5 years, you'll put Logan Wilson in there. You'll put Jermaine Pratt in there. You'll definitely put Trey in there. BJ Hill, you'll definitely put next 5 years, right? But we're talking about next 10 years. Those are probably the only guys you're building around. Which, again, it is what it is. You got to hit some draft picks. You do. You got to hit some draft picks. You got to hit some home runs on draft picks. You got to create some building blocks, and you got to kind of go on there. You can't always rely on free agency to go out there and get, to fix the defense. But usually how I look at it is you build your team in the draft, free agency with how expensive it can get, is a nice little way to finish off your team, right? It's like, hey, I lost this position, I lost that position. Okay, here's a nice fill gap player, right? And again, maybe that player ends up being amazing, like Tyreek Hill type. You know, usually like Tyreek Hill types don't hit free agency; they get traded for. But let's say a player did get, you know, hit free agency, whatever. Yeah, you could there's always, you know, the outliers, right? But majority, it's like, okay, well, I got Geno Stone. He's not going to be the best player ever, but, you know, he's a good player that I think could be a starter and, you know, could help us out in this one positional group. You can't go into free agency saying, we have a billion issues, let's fix them. No. You go into free agency saying, I just need that one player to help us out to, you know, just kind of finish off this group. And that's really what it is. Tell me down below your thoughts, opinions, though. See you guys in the next one. Peace.